My name's Lucas. I'm 28, and I suppose the easiest way to begin is by admitting I once believed family bonds held real weight. That if you showed up, offered your time, your resources, your heart, people would notice. That it would count for something. But last Easter showed me I was mistaken. I'm the eldest by a wide margin. My brother Caleb is 22. My father remarried when I was 16, shortly after my mother's death. That loss still hurts to even write about. Her passing broke our world apart, and though I tried to keep things together, Dad moved forward with unsettling haste. Within a year, he was seeing a woman named Sharon. Yes, spelled with an S, because naturally. And by the time I finished high school, she was already settling into the home we'd once shared with Mom. It never felt like a family after that, more like a patched-together setup that tilted heavily toward Sharon and Caleb at first. I made an effort. I truly did. I helped Caleb with his schoolwork, bought groceries, even took a part-time job to pitch in during college. Sharon was always courteous, but it was that strained kind of politeness, like how you'd nod at a stranger without really seeing them. And Dad, he just drifted away. He skipped my performances, canceled our movie nights, and scrapped the father-son camping trips we used to take each spring. He claimed he was swamped, but he wasn't. He simply stopped caring. I left home at 20, tired of feeling like an outsider in my own space. But I didn't cut contact. I still showed up for birthdays, sent gifts, called every Sunday like clockwork. I kept hoping maybe next time they'll acknowledge me, maybe it'll change. Spoiler, it didn't. This year, Sharon planned a big Easter family event. She announced it in our group chat like it was some grand reveal, backyard egg hunt, catered meal, family memories. I sighed but agreed to attend, mainly because Caleb asked me directly, and I thought, fine, why not? I had the day free, and maybe it could be a chance to reconnect. Yet no matter how many times I've learned better, I still walk into their house hoping it'll feel like home again. The day started decently. Sharon handed out tasks like she was running a project. Lucas handled the backyard, set up the egg hunt, wiped down the tables, stocked the cooler with juice boxes, and don't forget the plastic utensils. No please, no thanks, just directives. I didn't protest. I smiled, nodded, and got to it. It's second nature now. I tidied the yard, arranged the plastic eggs, spread out tablecloths, even fixed some wobbly chairs. I made a last-minute store run when the caterer called to say they'd forgotten the vegetarian option. I covered it myself, $74.63. Never saw that money back. By the way, by mid-afternoon, guests started arriving, cousins, in-laws, mostly Sharon's family. I was the only one in a button-up with grass stains on my pants. Everyone else arrived pristine, unbothered, unaware. Sharon's sister greeted me like I was staff. "Oh, you must be the one setting it all up. Great job," she chirped in that fake bright tone that made me want to laugh and yell at once. My own uncle didn't recognize me at first. Caleb gave me a quick hug and mumbled, "Good to see you, man," before vanishing with his girlfriend. As the day wore on, I noticed something. No one had saved me a seat at any table. I told myself it was a mistake, that someone would fix it. But as more people arrived, every chair filled. I stood there holding a plastic cup of tepid lemonade, forcing a smile. Sharon finally called everyone to eat. People lined up at the buffet, chatting and laughing, plates in hand. I lingered by the folding table where I'd set out the utensils. That's when it happened. I was adjusting a napkin holder when Dad's voice cut through, sharp and loud enough for nearby conversations to pause. "Lucas," he said, not meeting my eyes, "you're just a visitor in this family now, don't overreach." It felt like a punch to the gut. At first, I thought I'd misheard. I blinked, stunned, but then Sharon, standing beside him, arms folded, nodded. "This isn't your place to take charge," she said with a smug little smirk, like she'd been waiting to say it for years. I looked at Caleb, my little brother who used to trail me like a puppy when we were young. He met my gaze and looked away. Not a word. I didn't cry or shout. I just stood there, clutching that dumb plastic cup, realizing I was the only one in that yard who felt out of place in a family I'd once been part of. I walked inside, silent, grabbed my bag from near the front door where I'd left it that morning. Then I started disconnecting things. The Wi-Fi router? Mine. I'd bought it last year when theirs failed and no one replaced it. The backyard speakers? Also mine, lent for Caleb's graduation and never returned. The extra generator keeping the catering warm. Yep, mine too, purchased during a winter storm and left at Dad's, just in case. I unplugged it and hauled it to my car like it was weightless. Something in me just switched off. Years of bending over backwards, staying silent, swallowing pain. It all dissolved. And I wasn't finished. I walked to my car calmly, like I wasn't boiling inside, like I hadn't just been told in front of a crowd that I no longer belonged to my own family. But I wasn't going to cry, not for them, not anymore. As I loaded my stuff into the trunk, I saw Caleb watching from the kitchen window. He didn't come out or speak, just stared. I almost laughed. Maybe he was surprised I didn't just slip away quietly like always. Not this time. After packing up, I got in my car and sat with the engine idling. I opened my phone and pulled up a Notes app folder labeled Family Expenses. It listed everything they'd conveniently forgotten I'd paid for over the years. Like the car insurance policy still in my name. Dad had crashed his car a few years ago, and I'd co-signed the new one to get him a decent rate through my provider. He never switched it. I paid the premiums quietly out of guilt or habit. Or the utilities. The house was still under Mom's name when she passed, and I'd never removed myself as a secondary account holder. When they hit a financial rough patch last year, Sharon took time off for self-care, whatever that meant. I covered the electric bill for a few months. Those months became a year. I had all the account access, still had control. And then there was the big one. I wasn't just paying for Wi-Fi or their streaming subscriptions. I was the guarantor on their new HVAC system. Their old unit broke during a brutal summer heat wave, and when the contractor needed a cosigner, guess who they called? Me. I didn't hesitate, signed, and paid the first installment myself to get it started. I still had the contract. So I opened the billing portal, removed my card, and clicked to transfer ownership. When it wouldn't let me because they hadn't made enough payments, I canceled auto pay instead. Then I logged into the electric company, paused the payment, and messaged customer service. I no longer live at this address and want to be removed as a payee. They responded quickly, saying they'd contact the primary holder. I smiled. Then I opened the insurance app, pulled up the car policy, removed my payment method, and sent a cancellation notice for the end of the month. I screenshotted every cancellation and confirmation, then emailed them to Dad with the subject. Since I'm just a visitor, here's what I'm done covering. I hit send and drove off 5 minutes down the road. The calls started. Caleb first, then Sharon, then Dad. No voicemails. I didn't pick up. Instead, I drove home, parked, and made myself a sandwich, peanut butter and jelly, crusts off like I used to eat as a kid. I needed something comforting, familiar. An hour later, Caleb texted, "What's going on, man?" I stared at it before replying, "Just a visitor, remember?" No response. The next morning, I woke to 4 missed calls from Sharon, 2 emails from Dad, one angry, one worried, and a voicemail from my aunt saying she'd heard things got heated and maybe I was overreacting. Overreacting. I'd organized their entire family event, paid out of pocket, and was publicly told I didn't belong. But sure, I was the issue. They underestimated me again. That afternoon, their power went out. Caleb texted, "Power's down. Did you do this?" I waited 5 minutes, then replied, "Ask the family, I'm just the visitor." 2 hours later, Dad left a voicemail, his voice tight, barely holding together. "Lucas, we need to talk. Things got out of control." "Sharon shouldn't have said that. I didn't mean it like that. You know I value what you do. Call me, please." I didn't reply. I needed him to feel it, really feel it. This wasn't just about Easter or a chair or some plastic eggs. It was about every ignored effort, every skipped holiday, every unanswered call. It was about being treated like a burden in the home where I once heard bedtime stories and made waffles on weekends. It was about the kid who watched his dad move on too quickly, who kept hoping year after year he'd be noticed again. And now I finally was. And I wasn't done. I waited a full day before even considering calling back. Not to play games, but to think clearly, to not react emotionally like I always had. I wanted to hear what he'd say when he wasn't in control. So the next evening, around 6 p.m., I called. He answered immediately. "Lucas," he said like my name was a relief. "Thank you for calling. Look, I don't know what Sharon said or what you thought I meant." I cut him off, calm but firm. "Don't. You know exactly what you said. Don't act like it didn't happen." Silence. I could hear his breathing, but he didn't interrupt. "Let me be clear," I went on. "You said I was a visitor. In front of your wife, your son, everyone in that yard. You said I didn't belong, after I spent my whole Sunday and half my paycheck making your event work." "Lucas, it wasn't." "It was exactly that," I said. "You chose. And I chose too." He sighed, his voice slipping into that old, frustrated tone, the one he used when he wanted to sound like the grown-up. "You're taking this too far, cutting the power, taking the speakers. You're hurting everyone over one comment." I almost laughed. "One comment? That comment was how you've treated me for years. It just came out this time." He went quiet. "Look," he said, softer, I know things haven't been great, but you've always been the strong one. You handled things better than Caleb. That's why I relied on you. I thought you could handle it. There it was, the truth behind a decade of uneven care. You thought I could handle it, so you dumped it on me, I asked. You let Sharon treat me like help. You let Caleb coast while I covered the gaps. You never asked how I was. And when I stopped carrying it all, suddenly I'm dramatic. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. Something in me felt steady, final, not anger, not bitterness, just closure. Here's the deal, I said. I'm not angry. I'm done trying to prove I belong to people who only see me when I'm useful. Want the power back. Pay the bill. Want the car insured. Transfer the policy. The HVAC. That's your debt now. I'm not carrying it anymore. You made me the visitor, Dad, so I'm leaving. I hung up before he could answer. I didn't block him or send a dramatic follow-up. I just stepped out of the role they'd written for me. The days after were quiet, tense, but calm. No calls, no texts. My cousin, one of the few who still checked in, said there'd been a fallout after Easter. Sharon blamed Caleb for not handling things. Caleb blamed Sharon for making it worse. Dad tried to play peacemaker, but when the air conditioning died midweek during a surprise heat wave, he lost his cool. They had to pay cash for an emergency technician. Turns out when you remove the one person holding it all together, things collapse. I focused on myself, took time off work, slept in, ate well, cleaned my apartment. For the first time in years, I didn't feel the burden of being the responsible son, the fixer, the one keeping the family intact with grit and silence. A week later, Caleb showed up at my place. I checked the peephole before opening. He looked nervous, sweaty, like he'd been pacing outside too long. Hey, he said. I raised an eyebrow. You could have texted. Figured you wouldn't reply. I didn't respond, just waited. I didn't know, he said after a moment. About all you were doing, the payments, the catering, the insurance, I didn't realize. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You didn't bother to find out, he nodded. Yeah, I didn't. I just got used to you handling it all, thought you were okay with it. Did I seem okay with it? He gave a faint smile, then looked down. Not really. There was a pause. He wasn't here to fight, which was new. I talked to Dad, he said. He's Dad, blaming Sharon but also trying to guilt you for leaving him. I almost smiled when he added, I told him he was lucky you stayed as long as you did. Then he said, I want to fix things with you. Not for them, just us. I studied him. No arrogance, no smug little brother vibe, just sincerity. You want to fix it? I asked. Start by not expecting me to do all the work. He nodded. Fair. I opened the door wider. Want water? He exhaled, relieved. Yeah, that'd be great. As we sat in my kitchen, something shifted, not healed, not forgiven, but opened just enough to breathe. Dad would keep calling, I knew. Sharon might send some half-hearted email about rebuilding. But I was done playing along. The visitor had checked out for good. Caleb and I talked for nearly 2 hours that night, not just about Easter, but everything. The years of imbalance, the quiet grudges, how I always felt like the fallback son, the one who kept things running while Dad and Sharon doted on Caleb like he was a prized heirloom. To his credit, Caleb didn't dodge or excuse it. He listened. I was lazy, he admitted. It was easier to let you carry it. I figured if no one stopped you, it was fine. That's the issue, I said quietly. No one ever checked if it was fine, they just assumed. He nodded. I'm sorry, man. And oddly, I believed him. For the first time in years, I felt like I was talking to my brother. Not the spoiled kid who borrowed cash and never repaid, but the one who'd sneak snacks to my room during exam weeks or beg to play video games late when we were young, before favoritism warped everything. I didn't say, it's fine, because it wasn't, but I said, thanks. And that was enough for now. The next few weeks were peaceful in the best way. I went to work, came home, watched old movies, cooked real meals instead of grabbing fast food between crises. My apartment felt like a sanctuary, not a pit stop. Dad kept trying, first with subtle texts, a random meme, a brunch invite I declined. Then came apology messages, each more urgent. We were stressed that day. I didn't mean it like that. Your family, Lucas. Don't do this. That last one made me laugh, me tearing them apart. I was just done being their glue. He stopped replying. Then 3 weeks after Easter, Dad sent a long email, not to own up, but to guilt me. Sharon's devastated. Caleb's upset. You've made your point. Stop punishing us. Punishing. That word sparked something. I didn't do this to be cruel. I did it to be heard, to break the cycle, to stop being their silent lifeline. But standing up for myself was punishment. So I replied, punishment? Let's talk. For a decade, I've covered your bills, your car, your home. I bought groceries when you were broke, paid Caleb's college fees, lent Sharon cash for her retreat she never repaid. I was your backup bank, planner, emotional crutch. I organized birthdays, called every Sunday. You forgot my birthday twice. Last Christmas, you gave me a $20 gift card while Caleb got a new phone. You said I didn't need one. And on Easter, after I planned, paid, and cleaned, you called me a visitor in front of everyone. My boundaries aren't punishment. You don't get to hurt me for years and be shocked when I stop letting you. You chose this, now I'm choosing me. I ended it. I wish you well, but I'm done. I didn't wait for a reply, archived the email, blocked his number for my own peace, and walked away. 2 months later, Caleb called. Dad moved out, he said quietly. Sharon kicked him out last week. What? She found out he was behind on the HVAC payments. He told her it was handled, but after you pulled out, he ignored it, thought you'd give in. I closed my eyes. Of course, they got final notices. Then the repair guy said there'd be a lien if they didn't pay. Sharon flipped, blamed him for everything, said you shouldn't have been responsible to begin with. I raised an eyebrow. Now she says that? Caleb sighed. She's still Sharon, not defending her, but without you holding it together, they fell apart. It was never sustainable. He paused. Dad's at Uncle Mike's talking about selling the house. Wow, I said. All that from one backyard comment? Caleb laughed dryly. Guess you weren't just a visitor after all. We kept in touch after that, slowly, casually. He visited a few times, we grabbed lunch. He started asking about my life for once. On my birthday, he showed up with a homemade cake, just like Mom used to make, chocolate with raspberry filling. I didn't even know he could bake. Figured I owed you, he said, for all the times you covered. Things didn't heal overnight. Some scars don't fade cleanly, they just stop hurting. But I had peace, and that was enough. As for Dad, he never answered my last email. But 3 months later, a handwritten letter arrived, no return address. Lucas, I don't expect forgiveness. I'm not sure I deserve it. I've read your email countless times. You were right. I leaned on you to fix everything, and when you stopped, I didn't know how to cope. That's on me, not you. I'm sorry. I don't know if we'll talk again, but I hope you can remember the good times we had. I do. I stared at it, folded it, tucked it in a drawer, and moved on. Not angry, not vindicated, just free. Because sometimes the strongest revenge isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet, it's leaving. It's saying, you can't hurt me anymore, and meaning it.